Happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day in the middle of the week. This is Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. And let's see if we can get to a word of the day here. Word of the day is malapropism, the mistaken use of a word in a place of a similar sounding one, often with an amusing effect. Dance of flamingo instead of a flamenco. So there we have it. That's a malapropism. It's not the easiest word to say, but let's continue on with everything here. We're going to share our screen, go to the S&P heat map. We got a sea of red today, especially in the tech. Energy is pulling back as well. So it is a little bit of a chill map. Some of the healthcare providers are doing well, and everywhere else is not doing so well. So that's kind of the story there. The Federal Reserve came back out and said they're not quite ready to lower interest rates. So that had a little bit of a damper effect on the markets as well. Let's go to our personal pension or annuity. I feel that 85 to 90% of people should be in an annuity. You can sleep better at night. In 2008, everybody was worried as the S&P 500 dropped 50%. Well, you wouldn't have that worry in an annuity because your money goes up, it does not come down. You can never lose money in an annuity. It is guaranteed, and it beats index investing by about 5%. How do they do that? They give you a bonus up front. The bonus is right now about 25%. So could be changing. So if you want to take advantage of that, you should jump on the bandwagon, so to speak. You can see the indexes rock and roll with the stocks, and anything at any time can happen to take them down. So the steps keep going up, and that's a good place to be. I'm going to stop our share right now, and I'm going to go to their charts. First, take a Kura Sushi in the restaurant group. Looks like it's moving on up. A little bit of a pullback from their heights. And Chipotle, also in the restaurant group, looks like it's keeping moving on up. And Kava, let's see what Kava is doing. A little bit of a pullback today on 66 cents. Go to the dollar. Dollar is up slightly, up 0.29%. Gold tried to move higher and it had a strong pullback here. Silver doing about the same. Our copper stock moved up and had a pullback as well. And Southern Copper tried to move higher and was slammed as well. Freeport McMoran Southern Copper has their earnings tomorrow. Freeport McMoran, about the same. Vale, down 17 cents. BHP, everybody is doing about the same kind of dance. And Rio is down as well. The yields on the 10-year had fallen quite a bit. Yeah, they're still down, gap down. Not sure if that's good or bad. Might be a little bad for the, maybe people are looking at the economic news. Want yields to kind of stabilize and go down, but maybe not that much. TBT, the 20-year Treasury yield falling as well, but it is fighting back, unlike the 10-year. Let's see what the VIX is doing. Should be up. It is up to 13.85. Has pulled back a little bit. It was up to 1446 earlier. S&P 500 pulling back between 1.2 and 1.3%. The equal weight pulled back to its 10-day moving average, actually. And the equal weight is doing about the same, just not down as much, down 0.95%. The NASDAQ, second day down, pulling back to its 20-day moving average, down 1.66%, 1.7 was down, I believe, 1.3 earlier, so it has gotten a little worse. The equal weight in the NASDAQ, 1.22, not doing as bad as the big cap techs. The small caps, they had their big move up, and it is toast, down 1.6%. And the Dow Jones looked kind of sluggish today as well. And let's just see. They're down only 0.5%, doing much better than the other indexes. So let's go take a look at our news. We had a bunch of earnings at the open. ADP was up on 9% earnings increase, up 3.7%. And Avnet was down a little over 6%, even though the earnings came at a 303% increase. Avery Dennison tried to move up and then sold off, down 31%. Maybe they sold off in the Fed news. Boeing was up big today. I saw some people on Wall Street bets saying that they lost a lot of money buying puts yesterday. Boston Scientific is up pretty strong, pretty good volume here. Had a little bit of sell-off here, but the stock did move too much, and it is definitely moving today, up 3.5%. Columbus McKinnon, they are bouncing up over 4%. Earnings came up at 3%. I guess that's more than people were expecting. Cencora gapping up 21%. Earnings increase up 5.3%. Central Pacific Financial tried to move up, and a big sell-off, down 0.5%. Earnings decrease of 26%. Evercore tried to move up, and they sold off as well. Extreme Networks, big gap down 18%. Earnings came in at negative 11%. This was a 1% earnings surprise, but not a big enough surprise for most folks, I guess. A lot of people moving out of that. Professional money managers. Fortive gapped up, tried to move into the breakout zone, has pulled back a little bit, still up nearly 5%. Group 1 Automobile down 6.6% on their earnings, negative earnings of 13%. Hess Refinery down almost 1% on their earnings, negative 8%. Johnson Controls is moving down as well, negative 24% earnings. Lennox International down. Their earnings were up 38%, it looks like here. Just not enough for what people were looking at. MasterCard, big jump, 20% earnings increase. MI Homes pulls back to the 50-day moving average and then fights back. Market Access Holdings down 16% on 16% earnings increase. Navient is off 2%. They were down much more earlier with a 75 decline in earnings, 75%. We got the NASDAQ Corporation, I guess. Tried to move higher, and that was down 1.3%. New York Community Bank Corp, big gap down, 37.62%. Their earnings came in at negative 27%. This could be part of the reason that the regional banks is down. We'll look at the regional banks a little later. Old Dominion Freight Line, it's up pretty flat. Was down earlier, then moved up, and now we're right in the middle of the road here. Otis Elevator moved into the breakout zone, and then big sell-off. 16% earnings increase. Phillips 66 continues this move higher. Their earnings came in a negative 23%, but I guess it's just going to keep on rolling. Regis down big time, 17%. Earnings came in a negative 43%. Roper Technologies, big pullback, 4.2%. Rockwell Automation got down 16% today. Silicon Laboratories up 1.48%. We got Silgan Holdings. Earnings came in a negative 25%, but I guess people were expecting worse, and it's up 5.32%. Cisco in the food delivery was up 11%. And Thermo Scientific, their earnings came in at 5%, and it was much less than what people were looking for. It's down 4.42%. So we'll see what else happens. China's manufacturing PMI for January came in at 49.2. They estimated 49.3, up from 49 from the previous month. Australia's quarter four CPI inflation came in lower than expected, 0.6%. And Japanese economic data released today for December showed industrial production and retail sales both came in softer than expected. So that's the story there. Walmart, I believe, is doing a 3-for-1 stock split. Its first split since 1999. They moved higher initially and then sold off, and they're pretty flat for the day. H&M, Hennes and Moritz has replaced its chief executive, and they had a weaker than expected fourth quarter profits. I'm not sure why that is not coming up. It might not be a stock that is listed on this category. Fortune Brands announces $650 million share repurchase authorization, and quarter four EPS was 95 cents versus estimate 93. And they initially went up and now they sold off, and now they're fighting to come back. Mondelez, quarter four adjusted EPS 84 cents versus 78 cents. Tried to move up, but they did bounce off of their 20-day moving average, down 1.7%. Starbucks had some good announcement. Stock was up overnight, moved up, and now it's sold off here. Quarter one EPS 90 cents versus 93 cents. I guess it was better than some people expected. Maybe that's why it was up after the close yesterday. Hawaiian Holdings, quarter four adjusted EPS loss $2.37 versus estimate $2.35. It's only down 1.14% because they got a cash offer. I believe they're being bought by Alaska Airlines. Modine Manufacturing, quarter three adjusted EPS 74 cents versus 59 cents. Initially sold off, and they have regained their momentum. It's up 2.2%. Tesla registrations of vehicles in California dropped 10% in the last quarter of 2023, the first fall in more than 3 years in the state. Total of 47,592 Tesla vehicles were registered in the fourth quarter in California, with 52,782 a year earlier. Elon Musk's $56 billion pay package at Tesla was voided by a Delaware judge, and Elon responded that just don't incorporate your business in Delaware. And let's see, Canadian Pacific. Quarter four adjusted EPS in Canada, Canadian dollars, $1.18 versus $1.14. Gapped up, is sold off a little bit here. We'll see if it can continue its momentum. Otis Worldwide, we looked at them before. I'm not sure what it's doing in this category. Saudi Arabia is considering plans to revive a follow-on offering of Aramco as soon as February, sources said, in a multi-billion-dollar deal that is likely to rank among the biggest share sales in recent years. Let's see. Yeah, we don't have anything to look at there. Chubb, quarter four core EPS $8.30 versus estimate of $5.12. Gapped up. Now it's selling off to the lows. Lending Club, quarter four EPS 9 cents versus estimate 1 cent. They moved up earlier, and now they're selling off to, I guess, still up 4.9%. It just doesn't look that good on the chart. We looked at Navient earlier, announced strategic actions to simplify the company and reduce its expense base. Unum, $1.79 versus $1.87. So 1.41%. On to healthcare, big jump on Novo today. Said it expects sales growth this year between 17 and 25%, operating profit to rise 19 to 27% as demand soars for Wegovy and diabetes drug Ozempic. So big gap up today, up 5%. It had a pretty good base right here when it broke into the blue zone. So that was kind of your chance to buy it either yesterday or Monday. We'll continue looking at healthcare. Stryker, quarter four EPS, $3.46 versus $3.27. Big gap up 7% today. A lot of buying from professional money managers. A lot of buying yesterday on anticipation, and then 14% of earnings surprise. And this is the biggest amount of buying in the stock, biggest volume since this base over here. We looked at Thermo Fisher before. Their earnings came at 567 versus 564. On to Google, which missed. Quarter four EPS $1.64 versus $1.59 estimate. I guess they didn't miss. They just, I guess, missed on the whisper numbers. And they are down big time, down about 7% today. AMD, quarter four EPS 77 cents versus 71. And they missed their whisper numbers as well, as they're down pretty close to 2%. Microsoft had the best quarter ever, they said on their call. Their earnings came at 293 versus 278. It beat, but still down with, I think, the pressure of earning. People were expecting real blowaway, and the fact that the Fed is not reducing interest rates probably has something to do with it. Paramount Global, media mogul Byron Allen has made a $14.3 billion offer to buy the outstanding shares of Paramount Global. They gapped up, and now they're at their low for today. Samsung, I'm not sure if this will come up. It will not. Said operating profit fell to 2.8 trillion won, $2.11 billion in October and December versus 4.3 million won a year earlier. For its full year, the chip business swung to a record loss of 14.9 trillion won in 2023 from 23.8 trillion won profit a year earlier. And now we go to EA. Quarter three EPS $1.07 versus 86 cents on revenues of 195 billion. And they beat by 6%, but people were looking for a bigger beat. Match.com, quarter four EPS 81 cents versus 49 cents, up slightly 2.39%. Initially sold off, and I was fighting back on 170% earnings increase. Skyworks, EPS $1.97 versus $1.95, up ever so slightly, 0.9%. Teradyne, quarter four EPS 79 cents versus estimate 71 cents, has fallen about 7% on that news. Dell disclosed that on January 25th, the company delivered to Broadcom, written notice of termination of the commercial framework agreement dated November 1st, 2021. Dell is down on that news, falls to its 10-day moving average. And let's see what Broadcom does. Broadcom is gapping below its 10-day moving average, and it's getting close to its 20-day. So that's all the news that we have here. Now let's see where the money was flowing today. First, let's take a look at Lennar. They increased their dividend. They're off slightly, 0.76%, but trading pretty tightly. Powell Industries gaps up on almost 1,000% earnings increase, up 45, almost 46% today. Could have you foresaw that? It's trading kind of tightly in here. It did move up 2 days previously to the earnings announcement. You can see the blue volume over here, a lot of buying. And on the selling was pretty light. That's what you want to see. 1 day before the selling started, it was high volume on the buying, light volume on the selling, and then a pickup on volume 2 days before. So that's always a good reminder. This company is way extended, but it just continues marching up the pipeline. So the breakout was at 43.07, and it has just continued up ever since then. Earnings were up 257%, and now in the latest quarter, it was up another 150%. So you could have added, if you had bought over here, you could have added shares over here and over here. We looked at NVO. We may have looked at Modine. Modine is up 2%. Earnings up 54%. They initially sold off, got close to the 50-day, and then just kind of shot off the moon. Super Microcomputer is up again, 3.64%. Celestica is up 3.6%, and just look at all this volume over here. It just continues. Their earnings are up 36%. Just take a quick look at Super Micro, see if we can see who else is in their kind of sector. We got Dell, Ionic, just kind of continues down. BRT might kind of be, even though they're not listed. They sold off here, and now they're right, kind of pretty close to where they were yesterday, trading pretty tightly. I think they came close to filling that gap on that gap up. Commvault, nice, continued a nice move up. We look at Boston Scientific, gapping up. Weatherford, which really sold off yesterday, trying to fight back today on that news that Saudi Arabia was going to discontinue drilling for the time being. Earnings are due in 6 days, so we'll have to kind of watch for that. And finally, CAH. Got a gap up. Their earnings are due tomorrow. Cardinal Health, look at this volume. But be careful, earnings are tomorrow. Always could be surprises along the way. I'm going to go and take a look at kind of a daily routine. Companies that were up 3% with 50% increase in volume. We just looked at Supermicro. Manhattan Associates gapping up, going into their, looks like they went right through their break zone. We got the blue dot here confirming a new high versus the S&P 500. Celestica continues its uptrend. We just saw Make My Trip. And there's Boston Scientific with their gap up. Stryker, big gap up, 6.97%. Cencora, they're up big. And Novo Nordisk, company is up 5% with 100% increase in volume in buying. We got Silgan Holdings. We got Novo Nordisk. Ashland. Specialty materials, wide range of markets, including adhesives and architectural coatings. Big gap up, 15%. We had Paramount in the news. And earnings aren't for 28 days, but they're up 22% today. Powell Industries up 46% on that huge earnings increase. Stryker. Boeing continues strong. It's up in the upper range. It's up 5% today. Renaissance Holdings. Big rise on 61% earnings increase, up 6.5%. Global Education had a big gap down the other day, is trying to recover some of that money. Corbus Pharmaceuticals, it was up around 28.77, I believe, earlier. It's a little bit of a pullback, but it continues strong. Silence Therapeutics, and now up 10% on 200% in volume. Only Ashland fits that category. And just kind of continue to look at DWAC. It had made that big move. It's getting a little tighter in focus. So that is a good sign. Still a huge amount of volume, both the buying and the selling. We got this Rumble. Had a big gap, big move up over here, kind of consolidating, and it's up 11% today. It's trying to get above its 200-day moving average. Some things that I'm looking at in the restaurant world. Toast. This is a credit card processor that they use. Had a big move up 2 days in a row. Now it's got a little bit of a pullback. Did recover, go above 18, and now it's pulling back again, as you can see right here. In the hotel management space, looking at another credit card processor that most of the hotels use, which is 4. tried to move higher and then is pulling back. It looks like it's going to pull back to its 50-day moving average. Its earnings are in 27 days. Elastic was higher earlier today at 120. Looks like it's going to pull back to its 20-day moving average at least. And the 50-day is moving closer as well. So they do a lot of work with Microsoft, and we'll just continue to watch them. Datadog also does a lot of work with Microsoft. They were up higher earlier. They're pulling back a little bit. They did pull back a lot stronger, fell below their 20-day moving average, and they're right in between the 10 and 20 right now. So we'll continue to watch them as well. DraftKings, as we close in on the Super Bowl, had 2-day, it's really strong. I guess Monday and Tuesday, and now they're pulling back today. And there was one other company. So in the pharmaceutical space, look at Vertex, had moved higher and a strong pullback today, 3.23%. And Lilly tried to move higher and then sold off, and it's pretty close to break even right now. So let's take a look at some of our trending ETFs. Oil is down today. Got rid of UCO earlier in the morning. Look at the financials. Got a strong pullback in financials. Energy got a pullback there as well, with oil prices coming down. Strong pullback as Google had an effect on Meta, and it pulled back to its 10-day moving average, a big gap down. Take a look at real estate. Strong move down in real estate. Biotech's moving down. Yeah, a lot of sectors getting hit today. Software, big move down to the 10-day moving average. HubSpot looked like they were ready to move higher. And they pulled back just slightly today, less than 2%, back into the buy zone. Their competitor, Salesforce, a little stronger pullback to the 10-day moving average. Technology, pulling back to the 20-day. Semiconductors continue to pull back, down 1.5%. Let's look at infrastructure. They're pulling back pretty strong. The home builders pulling back to the 20-day. Building materials, and they looks like are under all the moving average. The 10-day is now below the 50-day, which is not a good sign. So let's look at the Fang Yu. Got a big gap down. Glad got out of that last week. Let's take a look at the big cap 7. Tesla is down 1.83. Apple is down to 185. I looked at Microsoft earlier. It's down under 400 now. Now it's popping back up. Meta is, it was earlier at 295, I believe. Netflix is the only one that is in the blue. And finally, Google. We didn't look at NVIDIA, so that'll be next. Big gap down in Google, down to its 50-day. And NVIDIA's looks like they're bouncing off their 10 days. So they pulled back to their 10-day and they got some buying in here. You can really see this on the 5-minute. They had a strong pullback and then we got some buying, another pullback, buying, and now it's kind of in the midst of another pullback. We'll see if it can hold the 615 area, but it has moved up an amazing amount in the month of January. Once it broke out, I believe it went up 26% or so in a month. So that's our story for today. This has been Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. If you have any financial questions or anything that you want to look at, feel free to send us a comment. We're here every day. The news is always changing, and we'll kind of see if we got a recession on its way, or we just have a Goldilocks pullback. So wishing everybody a great day. Go out there and continue working on your goals and your activities. You need to do your own due diligence. In the meantime, we'll be here to support you.